Hello there. Welcome to The Truth Never Retires. This is a portal into the pros and cons of retirement through a practical and sometimes personal revelation of what retirement looks like for our guests, for me, for you, for whomever. And today we're going to be talking about estate planning. As you know, for those that know the story of Perry Small, during the latter years of my career, I had to bury my last two family members. I'm the last one standing. Before my great aunt and my mother died, within 3 days of each other, had a double funeral. My brother was my mother's caretaker. My brother and I did not get along like a lot of family members and siblings. I loved him, he loved me, but we didn't like each other very much. So what he would do, not what anything I would do, in spite of the little estrangement, he put everything in our 84-year-old dementia mother's name. Her bank account beneficiary, his beneficiary, had himself as her beneficiary. The house was not in any particular name. It was a mess. Hired a good estate a good estate lawyer, an attorney. Changed everything. And so when I finally had to bring in my aunt and I was taking care of both of them, I was their caregiver, I made sure that I would never have to go through that process again, that if I lost or when I lost either one of them, that there would be this kind of trouble, because you're going to spend a lot of money, you could lose a lot of money, or the state could get your money if you do not take the measures that our guest is going to tell us we need to take in order for us to live our last years in peace and to, as we keep discussing, keep legacy within our families. Lisa, so good to see you, my friend.
Good morning, and good to see you too as well. This is going to be an interesting topic today.
So tell us about our guests.
Yes, well, we have Mr. Khan, because I don't want to mess up the first name again. Is Khomeni, and he is a financial planner. He's an analyst who will definitely this morning give us some insight, or I should say this day, give us some insight on what it is that we need to do and how to better prepare ourselves. So, sir, I'm introducing you to the floor. It is yours. Take away.
Well, first, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to come on the show and give my perspective on financial planning and financial advice. This is a wonderful vehicle to be able to talk to people and be able to educate people. And so I'm all about that. So when you all reached out and said, hey, we got an idea, come on the show, talk about this, I thank you for the opportunity. So, really educating people about finances and money, that's my passion. That's what I do all day, every day. As you mentioned, I'm a financial planner. I'm actually a certified financial planner. I've been doing this type of work for 24 years. I work with the company Optimum Planning Partners, and we work in alliance with Equitable. Many people have probably heard of Equitable, very old company. And so all I do every day is to meet with clients, meet with individuals, families, business owners, and help them plan and prepare for their financial goals, short-term and long-term, and give them advice about how to meet those goals. And so that can fall under categories as simple as preparing for retirement. It could fall under estate planning. It could fall under planning for college for your kids. And so I help clients across the spectrum of different subjects as it relates to financial advice and preparing financially.
So I wanted to ask you, Khomeni, because you seem young, but I was just reading a study that said, and we talked about this in a previous show, a study that talked about how financial planners are paramount for you to get the best bang out of your buck. From that Northwestern Mutual study, it said that if you have a financial planner, whatever it is that you have saved, it will be doubled under that reputable financial planner. Why do you, and this is Financial Literacy Month, we're actually talking in the month of April. Give us your elevator pitch of why we should have, all of us should start when and why we should have a financial plan with a financial planner.
Yeah, and I thank you for the point and the question, Perry. I think that it's vitally important to have a financial planner. You know, when I'm talking to clients and I'm meeting with clients, particularly for the first time, you know, I describe financial planning and being able to get professional financial advice. I think about it like building a house, right? And so you think about building a house, the first thing you want to do generally is to hire an architect, right? Because the architect is experienced and they've built many, many houses, many, many structures. And so they have the know-how to help you be able to navigate building your house. And so I akin the architect and the financial planner together, because when it comes to building your, say, financial house, it's much easier when you have a professional helping you. On the house side, an architect helps you with a blueprint. They put a blueprint together that people can follow to be able to build that house, starting with the foundation and ending up on the roof, right? And as a financial planner, what I do is I help you start with your financial foundation, help you talk about those things that are extremely important so far as just basic things like just having an emergency reserve account. A lot of people don't have an emergency reserve account. So when things happen in life, you know, that car goes out or something happens to the roof or the furnace, a lot of time people may have to use credit or go into their investments. So just simple things like, you know, having a emergency reserve account, that's kind of the foundation when it comes to financial planning. And we build up from there. And so it's a step-by-step process. We take our clients through a step-by-step process to help them develop their financial blueprint that they can follow in order to accomplish their long-term goals. And, you know, so to me, it's, you know, having an advisor is extremely important. Could you do it without an advisor? Sure, you could. And you can also build a house without an architect, right? But it's probably going to be much more comprehensive, much more robust, and you're probably going to have a better outcome when you have an architect, when you have a financial planner, because they're going to make sure that they touch on all the different topics. Some you may deal with and realize all the time, maybe even some things that you have not considered. So for me, having an advisor is an extremely important aspect of building wealth and financial planning. And this is what I talk about every day.
You know, I have two questions for you. And I think, and the reason why I'm asking them, I just want to tell you, is so that the listeners and Lisa and myself can get a better idea. Because when we hear, let me just do this. I'll just do it this way. Mm-hmm. What does retirement look like for you, Khomeini? What does retirement look like for you? Let's start there.
Well, again, I thank you for the question. And let me just throw a quick disclaimer in. You know, I'm a financial planner, and so, you know, I do talk to clients around financial advice and financial planning. But we don't give legal or tax advice. I always tell my clients, make sure that you consult with your attorney or accountant as it relates to tax and legal matters. But I work closely with accountants, with attorneys, when you're talking about financial planning, estate planning. But more specifically, your question, Perry, around being able to, you know, look and prepare for retirement. You know, when I'm talking to clients and we're talking about retirement, you know, and this is really top of mind for most people. You know, a lot of the calls that I get and people reaching out to me are people who have questions around retirement. How can I prepare? Am I prepared? Do I have enough? right? These are the questions that people want to know because, you work, 20, 30 years, maybe even 40 years of your life, and you retire, you get to this retirement point, and now you have to make whatever money you have, it has to last for the rest of your life. And so that can bring a little bit of anxiety for people to say, okay, I got to make this work for the rest of my life. And so when we're talking about planning for retirement, one of the first things I start with when I ask people is, what type of retirement lifestyle do you want to have? Right? Let's talk about that first. Let's dream a little bit, right? Let's have a little dream. Do you envision retirement where you're on the beach and the waves crashing by, or do you envision retirement, say, a little closer to home and just being able to relax and kick your feet up? And the reason I ask clients that question is because the person who says that they want to sit on the beach with the waves crashing and doing that traveling versus the person who just wants to kind of have a little bit more flexibility and kick their feet up, that's a big difference in the type of planning that we have to do and how much money it's going to take to sustain for the rest of your life. And so when it comes to preparing for retirement, as an advisor, we need to know the type of retirement lifestyle that you want to have, because that's going to drive the things that you should be doing now as it relates to the preparation, the recommendations, because that person who is going to be on the beach, they may need to be saving, for example, $1,000 a month versus the person who's not on the beach. Maybe they can save $500 a month. That's just a hypothetical. But the type of lifestyle that you want is really going to dictate the type of recommendations and planning that we do. But there's so much you can do under the retirement planning kind of just lifestyle and preparation, everything from being able to save in those retirement plans through the jobs like 401ks and IRAs and deferred comps. That's kind of the basics, right? Just being able to save through your job and being able to get that, say, quote unquote, free money that employers will provide when they do that matching or that profit sharing. That's another big one. I always tell my clients, if your employer is going to match you, essentially mean they're going to put a certain percentage in your retirement plan, you make sure that you are getting that full percentage. So if they say that we're going to give you 4, if you put in 4, I say you got to at least be putting in that 4, because that's free money. And if you're not putting in that 4, you're giving up free money. And so just strategies around being able to take advantage of what's already there. And then from there, we build and we expand. And so that's kind of a basics where you get started. But now maybe we need to put some additional plans in place. Maybe we need to look at a Roth IRA. Maybe we need to look at some tax-free investments. Maybe we need to look at some deferred investments. And so we'll look at the full gamut as it relates to your retirement picture. But remember, most importantly, this is your retirement picture. And not everybody's picture is the same. Matter of fact, no two people have the same goals when it comes to financial planning. So it's really important as an advisor that we listen. We listen to what our clients want so we can help you build a roadmap or that financial blueprint to help you go where you want to go.
Okay, Khomeni, I got a question. I'm going to give you a situation. I have worked the last 25 years in an hourly wage capacity. Considering most baby boomers right now have been introduced to 401ks and matching late in their careers or late in their job market. Many other jobs didn't offer it. So I've worked, let's say, 25 years as an administrative assistant. The highest wage I've gotten is $25 an hour. I'm pretty good at going to work. I'm regular. I've not missed any years. What kind of plan do you have for me? Because I've had 4 kids I had to raise, and I've not really had much to even save, let alone put aside and take care of my family. So let's give that situation, and what would that type of person want to do first?
Well, I thank you for sharing that background and that question. So I'll approach it from, say, a hypothetical standpoint.
Correct.
I'll speak, for myself. I was raised by a single mom. I was actually born in Chicago, raised South Side of Chicago, so I'm a Chicago boy through and through. And my mom raised us as a single mom, 4 children, my 2 sisters, my brother, and me. And she had modest means as well. She was not a wealthy woman. She had a government job, and she was able to raise us on a government job. And so she did the best she could. But for that type of scenario, I always tell clients, it's not how much you make. It's really what you do with it and how much you keep. Because I work with a lot of different type of people. I work with clients who are, CEOs and CFOs, but I also have some clients who, who do custodial work and admin work. And believe it or not, I've seen some, my clients who making under $50,000 a year have way more in their retirement account than someone, say, at the higher end of a tax bracket. And because, again, it's not about what you make, it's what you do, what you make. And so if you can be a good saver and do it consistently, and so specifically being able to take advantage of those retirement plans that you have. And one of the keys is being able to start early. And I know you said a lot of times we do start late in our career because we may just not have that information. And that's why it's so important working with an advisor. And that's why I'm really passionate about what I do. Because, sometimes I meet people literally 2 years before retirement. And I explain to them, like, you have this plan available through your job where you can put X number of dollars in. And I tell them about the benefits, not just about being able to save, but the compound interest you get from saving, the tax benefits, how you're going to be able to save on your taxes right now from using that plan. So all these different benefits. And you know what they said to me? They said, Khomeni, I had no idea.
That's literacy. That's the lack of financial literacy.
But you know what? That's the responsibility of the company, because I'm HR. And every time I did onboarding, I told them we have a match. You should, more than anything, you better take advantage of this.
But they don't understand that, right, Lisa? Well, because all of they know, and I'm not saying they like those people, but I'm saying a lot of people, it's out of ignorance. It's because they're like, I need every penny I get. Whatever I'm working for every week, I want to see that in my paycheck. The government takes enough out of my check. Am I right, guys? Am I right? That's kind of the mindset. So what happens is, in my opinion, what happens is they turn 50. What do you have saved? I have nothing. Now, you were saying, Khomeni, you get people 2 years before. So 2 years, they finally figure out all of the benefits that they have. They see how much they've amassed in just those 2 years, and they want to kill each other or themselves because they had not done this all along. So I guess the biggest question, Lisa, right, is how do we get you? How do we introduce people like you, Khomeni, to our community and other communities and other people? How do we start reaching them so that we don't wait till we're 50? It doesn't matter what zip code that you're born in. If you have the information, you'll be able to. Nobody wants to work when you don't feel well. I wake up every day now, and there's some days I don't feel well. And you know what the first thing I say? Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to go to work today. I don't know what to do. That's just the way it is. Yeah. But I work. I do, still go out, and I see a lot of senior citizens who retired or who did not retire that are working again. They retired and had to go back to work, or they cannot retire. That's not who any of us want to be, but that's what life can be. If you have a financial planner, you're just a little bit closer not having to be in that situation. I'll let you respond to that, Khomeni.
No, I think those were great points. And I can probably speak to a specific situation and working with clients who that exact experience happened. And so, just like I was saying, I've met people, right before retirement and, explain to them, some of the benefits they had. And I'll tell you, one of the most common things people tell me when it comes to preparing for retirement is, number one, I wish I would have started sooner, and I wish I would have saved more. Those are the two most common things that people say. And I think that, as it relates to your question, Perry, around solutions, like how do we start to move, how do we start to shift the paradigm? How do we change this so we can do better and be better and prepare? And so, I look at myself like a financial educator. Obviously I meet with clients every day and I help them so far as financial planning, but I also try to get out here, right? Talking on shows like this and partnering with radio stations like WVON, where I do a weekly radio show called the Wealth Strategy Show. And so I partner with them to be able to bring this type of information to people who don't normally get a chance to hear this type of stuff. Talking about investments, talking about retirement, talking about starting early and preparing early. That's one of the biggest things is if you can start early and prepare early, even if you're just saving a little bit, it builds up over time, that compound interest, and that interest just accumulating and growing. You would have a lot more than you would have otherwise. The person who starts at 25 and starts saving a little bit compared to the person who starts at 50 and starts saving a lot, in many cases, that person at 25 is going to come out better because of that compound interest over time. And so one of the keys is starting early. And, we have to really kind of take it upon ourselves, people who have platforms and the ability to educate and get this information out to people. Because like you said, one of the biggest things I find is not that people don't want to invest or don't want to say, quote unquote, do better. They just don't know how. They haven't had an experience with an advisor. No advisor has ever approached them, or maybe they were intimidated and didn't necessarily want to reach out. And so me kind of being able to just kind of share on platforms like this. So again, I thank you all for the opportunity to talk about the importance of financial advice and preparing. It's so invaluable. And a lot of times people make certain assumptions. Well, I can't afford that. I can't afford to talk to a financial advisor. But in many cases, there are plans and strategies that you can actually put together that fit within a budget for you. And so the first step is just reaching out and talking to somebody who can help you, learn and educate. And I'm also a big believer in books. Financial books. There are a lot of financial books out there. So if you're not ready to reach out to
you don't even have to pick up a book. You don't even have to pick up a book anymore.
Podcasts, the internet. There's so many resources out there.
I'm just going to say this. Once I got a financial planner, and I was one of those people, had not saved a dime, and then life happened. I had a windfall, and the first thing I thought about was retirement. All right. Everybody doesn't think like that. And I'm not saying I did anything amazing or spectacular. I'm just saying sitting here today that I'm glad I did because I was able to retire. See, I saw my family members retire, but there are some families that see people work till they die.
True.
If you love to work, that should be an option. It should not be because you have to get up and go to work every day. I was really interested in finding out, here you are, a financial planner, all the education, all the knowledge in the world. Do you sometimes feel reticent when you have close friends and family members throwing out a nugget every once in a while, just a little nugget, to put, to try to get the bee in the bonnet, to kind of wake them up a little bit. Because I notice since I've been so involved in this, and it could be obnoxious, I just want to share the information so much. I want to share. Oh, this is something you might want to look in doing. Get your estate planner, get your financial planner. When all of this fell in my lap, all I do is sit there and read, and it's obsessive. But I don't have. It's only me. It's only me. So I don't have a support network, so I'm going to obsess over it. But everybody isn't like that. How do families get involved in this together?
That's a great question. I actually did a previous show around estate planning and how to talk to your family around estate planning. I did that show with an estate planning attorney, and we talked about just the difficulty in approaching subjects like that, because a lot of time we don't like talking about death and preparing for death, even though we know it's gonna come, right? And so that's a part of planning. It's a part of planning, and I feel like planning is in my DNA, and so I'm a big advocate of anything we can do to plan. And it is not just for the purpose of planning, right, Perry?
Right.
It's a huge financial difference from the outcome that you have when you plan and prepare versus not planning and preparing. And so many estate planning attorneys will share with you, and they actually shared on the show that day, the difference between not doing your estate plan, and if you don't have an estate plan, then what happens is, the state that you live in, they have an estate plan waiting for you.
It's
right?
called take it, right?
So one way or the other, you have an estate plan. The only question is, did you give any input to your estate plan? And so I try to tell my clients, let's have as much input as we can and customize our estate plan, because now the people that you love are more likely to receive what you want them to receive. Whereas if you don't have that proper planning, a lot of that money can be kind of spent away. A lot of those assets can be spent away on fees and costs as it relates to that process. And so taking out a little time up front is extremely important to really kind of have the best kind of outcome. But, but like you said, Perry, it's not easy, but I do find that people who are advocates, particularly people who are not financial planners, a lot of my clients come from referrals. Probably most of my clients now come from referrals from people I've worked with, sending me their family members or friends or colleagues or coworkers. They say, hey, I've done some work with Khomeni, and Khomeni's helped me prepare for retirement. You should just talk to him. And that might just be just enough that person needs to hear to kind of lower those, lower down those guards and just be a little bit open. So I think all of us have a responsibility who've kind of had say enlightenment, right? Like at some point, the light bulb kind of goes off. Like, you know what? Retirement is 10 years away. I better start doing something, right? So when you have that light bulb go off, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to be able to help other people and encourage other people to do the same, so they can have that light bulb moment too.
I got a question. When they have that light bulb moment, what is it that, what would you say are some of the examples that actually triggered that? Is it that they didn't think I could pull $90 or $100 a month because I didn't think I had it, but now I realize I don't miss it?
Honestly, for most people, and this is just my opinion, I think it's actually when they face a hardship. Is when you come and face head on that thing that you didn't prepare for. So whether it be losing a loved one and you haven't prepared per se, or it's time for college and I haven't saved anything and I'll have to kind of figure it out, or retirement is here. And so we all have our light bulb moment. and it comes differently. But a lot of times it's like when you face that actual reality of the difference between what you could have done and what you should have done. And then at that point, we're like, okay, from this point forward, I'm making a change. I'm doing better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so when you have those moments,
Seize
try
them.
to help other people.
Seize them.
Seize it for yourself.
Yes,
and
seize
then,
them.
and then also try to be an advocate for other people to help them with their light bulb moments more sooner than later.
Wow. Every time we have these conversations, Lisa, I learn something, and it's a way for us to vent, from our daily lives, from my retirement. And I'm going to tell you, it's been a pleasure talking to Khomeni. You have just brought a kind of a different vibe. That's what I like. Everybody brings a different vibe. You gave some really good information, and I hope that at least one person that listens has that light bulb moment sooner before later. It'll change your life. I'm just telling you. Just knowing that or this is the best part, or forgetting that or not even looking at your accounts for maybe 6 or 7 months. And then you might see this huge jump and you're like, well, how do I put in more?
Absolutely. That's the beautiful part about
investing
and building
right?
wealth. When it's actually working, right? When it's actually working, you get to see the fruits of the labor. That's the best part.
And the other thing, financial planners send their clients good gifts when they retire. Listen, thank you so much, Khomeni Khan. Give your information so people, if they want to contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can reach my office directly by phone or text at 630-575-5046. That's 630-575-5046. We do consultations, and usually our first consultation is complimentary. Also, you can go to our website to get more information. Go to wvonwealthshow.com. wvonwealthshow.com, and you can learn all about the work that we do and how we educate people every day.
And you have your own web address as well.
And that's actually, there's a link on it to take you right to my website.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Lisa, I love that hat.
Yeah, wonder where I got it from.
The truth never retires.
Right?
Listen, guys, it's been so much fun. It's been entertaining as well as informational. Again, you'll be seeing some of our swag, and you'll be able to purchase it on our website in a very short time. But anyway, thank you so much, Khomeni Khan. You have just been wonderful, and that smile, oh God, could make $1 million.
Well, again, I thank you all for the invitation and the opportunity to talk about, financial advice, financial planning. I think it's so important. And, you all doing a great job. Continue to educate people, uplift people, and bring these important messages. And so I thank you all for the work that you're doing.
All right. Well, you might have to retire, but the truth doesn't. See you next time.
All right. Hit like and subscribe, people.